Okay, so this next article is interesting too, and Shannon Milligan is in the chat in Clubhouse. So I'll bring her up just a little bit, but I'll frame kind of what happened. Dan, I want to hear your commentary on it, and then I want to bring people up to speed a little bit on what we talked about last time on the last show. And then I'd love to hear what Shannon has to say about this too. So, Dave Ramsey has an endorsed local provider program. That program will refer agents around the country. Dave's a realtor, and then he takes a percentage of what those realtors make for the referral, which is a common practice for most real estate agents. Now, Dave's a little bigger than your average agent. He does a radio show, he does conferences, he spends a lot of money to get himself out there, and so there's some extra fees involved. Like there's a little bit higher referral fee for him than most. There's also a monthly fee, and it's not too bad. And then there's like whenever you sign up, there's a fee to sign up and get involved. I think they call it a training fee or something like that. The training is, it's light as far as real estate goes, but they do a pretty good job of filtering through you as an agent. Like I applied 4 years before I was allowed into the program because my numbers were there, the volume was there, but my years of experience wasn't. So, of all the referral programs that are kind of run by a celebrity, it's one of the most strenuous that I've found.
Well, and eXp did claim that, they let anyone in or they let new agents in. So that's what they're going to do now. But that's not true at all.
That's some of what we heard. So last week, what we talked about were some of the YouTube videos and stuff like that weren't great, which is why I recommended everyone watch Shannon's, because some of well, let me get to that in a minute. Let me first tell you what happened. So Dave Ramsey, Ramsey Solutions program, basically ejected the eXp agents that were in the program
with no warning. It just happened.
Yeah, and they would. Now, I have to kind of commend the way they did it, because instead of like sending an email and just shutting it off, they made the real estate coaches that they had to call their people and tell them, this is what's going on. And the reason that they gave, and Shannon can correct me if I'm wrong when she comes up, but the reason that they gave was that the recruiting practices of eXp didn't align necessarily with the values of the EOP, how they wanted to do it. So it was basically, they gave the reason of recruiting. We're kind of left to speculate exactly what that means, but it's the recruiting model, taking away from the customer that Dave told, or Dave's people told all the agents. It's the Inman article has a couple of anecdotal instances in which a couple of agents talk about what happened to them and how they were cut off. And, basically the eXp agents are arguing that it doesn't affect customer service. The Dave Ramsey Solutions did tell agents, hey, you can stay, but you can't be with eXp and stay.
We'd love to have you. You just can't be with eXp.
So Glenn Sanford, the company and founder of eXp, he said that it took him by surprise. Unless they change, he's just kind of going over everything that I just did. He said, this is a big deal. There's a lot of money here. There's something else going on that we just don't understand. And this is what we kind of speculated last week. Maybe it's the relationship with the Cardones. Grant Cardones has kind of jokingly been called Uncle Cardone by the eXp community. And that could be part of it, because a lot of the advice that Grant gives is not necessarily on the same page with the advice that Dave is giving. They're kind of two different perspectives of investing and making money, building wealth, etc. So it could be that Dave wanted to be the guy, and he didn't want there to be another influencer, another guy, or something being given to his clients that he's referring out. And so we kind of speculated that might be it. The other speculation that we had is that in the ELP program, there are different mastermind groups, and maybe in some of those mastermind groups, there was a lot of recruiting going on. And maybe that is why. But you would think that they would address those issues specifically, right? If they had some recruiting going on in those mastermind groups, that those agents specifically would be impacted. Or if it was the Grant Cardone thing, that Dave would release a statement and say, hey, we don't agree with this guy that's now aligned with their company, so we can't align our company with theirs. So, but they didn't say anything yet.
Now, and
the only thing remember too about aggressive recruiting.
And the other thing we have to remember too is that there's no formal relationship. It's not Dave Ramsey Solutions partnered with eXp. It's
Correct.
eXp agents that were part of the ELP program, the
Right.
Endorsed Logo Providers program. So,
and a lot of agents, ELP is not a major source of my business. I know, Shannon said it wasn't a major source of business for her either, but
some in
she
the
was
article
doing
it was.
well with it.
It was more.
But a lot of us are in it because we believe in the program. We believe in Dave Ramsey's program and the Financial Peace University, and we believe the principles that he holds, et cetera. So a lot of us are in it kind of as it's not pro bono, but it's almost like, hey, I'm going to help where I can and give back because I've been given so much for that program too.
Well, also, because the program does, it makes us be better as humans as well. But from a lead standpoint, technically they're stronger leads, because if they've gone through all of his programs and all of his steps, then when they get to the point where they've fixed the credit, they've got savings, and they're ready to buy a home, they've already done all those pieces. So they are stronger leads. So
they're either stronger or they know like 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's depending on what part of the baby step process they're in.
There are some that are earlier in the baby steps that you have to walk through, but
one notable thing I just found it was interesting is that the eXp is starting Success Experts. So they recently acquired Success Magazine last fall, and they are going to start a recommended real estate agent called Success Experts. Now, what's interesting is, like, if they're with the eXp and that's an eXp product, are they going to allow non-eXp agents into the Success Experts program? Is it going to be just eXp agents? And then how do you pick one eXp agent over another? If you're the eXp company, that's going to be, I guess maybe they have to do something. I don't know.
Is there a qualification for it and so on?
Yeah. Maybe it is just for those eXp agents who were formerly ELPs. So now I'd like to bring up Shannon. I know that was a long explanation, but I felt it was kind of necessary in one way to bring up Shannon to speed on what we've talked about yesterday. And I will kind of say, like, one of the things that we had issue with some of the YouTubes that were out there, which is why we didn't recommend anyone else's but Shannon, is because a lot of them were saying, well, because Dave cut off eXp agents, now these poor consumers don't have access to top real estate agents. Well, that's disingenuous, because there are top real estate agents that are not eXp agents, and you can be a top agent at another brokerage. That's totally fine. So we had to look past a little bit of the recruiting talk to get into some of the other videos. But Shannon had a really honest one and a really open conversation with her Facebook. And I immediately texted her and was like, hey, can you come on the show? And she was like, she couldn't last week because, she's a top agent. She was busy. So she's here today. So Shannon, hey, how are you?
Hey, can you hear me okay? I'm driving to a listing appointment, but I'm happy to pull over if you can't.
No, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. I figured you were busy. So thanks for joining us. Well, I don't want to spend the time to unpack everything that you mentioned. But I'm curious to know if you've heard anything else from Ramsey Solutions. Has there been any developments in the story since last week? And if so, what are they? If not, we can just kind of go over a little bit what you said last week.
No, not really. They are very scripted in what they tell you. So I spoke with my quote unquote coach, and then I asked to speak to a higher up. And then the next day, a higher up called me, and it was very, very scripted, the exact same thing that my coach had shared with me. So no new developments. I'm sure I have a little bit of information because I'm working with the success experts, we're trying to get that up and launched. So I've been in some meetings for that. But yeah, I could probably answer some of the questions that you might have just because I was part of hearing it firsthand.
Part of hearing the success experts thing, or part of hearing the ELP program thing?
The latter.
Both.
Okay. So, we'd heard the comment, and this may be the scripted comment that you're talking about recruiting. Is that the same thing they told you on the phone? That was the recruiting model takes away from the customer experience?
Yes. Now, how it started was with an email. So on like June 2nd, I got an email that basically says, hey, I hope your week is going well. I'm actually looking at it. I have an ELP update that I need to speak with you about in the next few days. Don't worry, you haven't done anything wrong. this is an update I need to make you aware of, and we can develop a plan together. Which times work? So I had to
Oh,
schedule an appointment to talk. Now, as you know, as an ELP, they've been making a ton of changes since I even joined 6-7 months ago. So I just thought, oh, now it's going to be something else about the Ramsey Trusted Score and that sort of thing. So I set up an appointment for the following week. But that appointment got moved up to the next day or two because I heard from all the other agents ahead of time what was coming down the pipe.
wow.
So you kind of heard through the grapevine what was going after you got the email and set the appointment. And you're right. They have made a lot of changes recently in how things are scored and calculated and all that kind of stuff to figure out. I guess they're trying to figure out on the back end the um, what's the word I'm looking for? The service level that some of their clients are getting. This is similar to some of the changes actually that Zillow's been making recently, where they're tracking more how many times you answer the phone and how happy the people are who work with you on the phone. So it's kind of similar in that vein to where they are following it's something we should all kind of take note of, because if these big companies are making this change, then it's something that we need to focus in too, just kind of as a side note. But you moved up your meeting, and then you had your meeting with the coach, and they told you could stay, but only if what? And maybe this is kind of where that email came from, right? Hey, we just need to have this conversation, and maybe you could stay with us, but let's talk about it. What did they tell you?
Basically about the recruiting practices, to which you can refute. It was pretty easy to poke holes in what they were saying, and then they said, but you could stay if you switch brokerages. And I said, well, is there a specific brokerage? And they said, no, just anything but eXp.
And that is interesting. So
yeah,
one of the YouTubes that we watched, and I think you too, Shannon, brought this up in your video, but there are a lot of other brokerages that recruit. Keller Williams is one of them that kind of eXp was born out of, I guess you could say, in which they had a profit sharing model that is based on recruiting, very similar to eXp. So
it's different though, but yes, I get it. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the difference in the incentive to recruit. Did you ask them about that, Shannon?
No, I used to be a KW agent as well. What I said was, I constantly get calls from Remax and KW and local brokerages recruiting. How is that any different? And that's where you could tell it was scripted, because they wouldn't answer it.
Okay, well, if I can add something to do that with Remax and Keller Williams specifically, it's not the agents necessarily. Now, agents do recruit. When I was with Keller Williams, I would still say,
I mean, there are agents that send me, look, I own my own brokerage, and there are agents that send me messages like, hey, you want to come to KW? I'm like, kid,
because
you got no idea.
Because you have no idea. But so yes, there are agents, but it's literally the team leader's job to recruit. That's the person's job. They have a person that does that, and then Remax does as well. So,
but what's the difference? I mean, eXp,
it's much more aggressive, because I mean, have you ever seen their payout structure? It's much more aggressive. So the agents are, and it's honestly the reason I didn't go to eXp 3-ish years ago when an old partner of mine went. I was like, this seems like I'm just going to spend a lot of time recruiting and not helping people buy or sell homes. And that's really all I want to do. So I get that the model works for a lot of people, and they still, obviously Shannon sells a lot of homes. She's on her way to a listing appointment right now. But for me personally, it didn't work. So with those incentives, it becomes more, well, I got to recruit. I got to get to this tier. I got to get this many people under me. And then they pull people in and you build that way. I totally.
So how would you,
just different.
How would Dave Ramsey, how would any company put a threshold to signify what is aggressive based on the compensation plan and what is not?
That's the part that I find very interesting, because it's kind of for me, I went through the whole 45-minute video presentation, all that stuff to possibly join eXp. I chose not to. It honestly made me very, very uncomfortable as an agent, but I get that it works for a lot of agents. Obviously they're growing quickly, but it's always been this kind of, there's no proven stats or anything that say eXp agents do less transactions and give less customer service because they're recruiting it. There's no stats based on that. I'm speaking specifically personally, made me uncomfortable. I didn't want to do it, but it's this kind of feeling that eXp recruits so aggressively that they don't, that they ruin the customer experience. And that's kind of where I think Dave Ramsey's coming from. But what are his numbers on it?
One of the guys, I think he joined us last week, said Dave's like 2 years late. And he said that recently there have been a lot of changes in eXp that is a lot less aggressive than they were, and just changes in some of the strategies and tactics. Because I mean, we used to always get the Facebook messages from Keller Williams and eXp agents,
all the time. I still get them all the time. I got one the other day.
Stuff. So, but I think they've kind of temped that. The guy that was talking to us last, I can't remember if that was on the show or the show prep, but the guy that was talking to us says, recently the strategies have changed because it's become more effective. But I still don't understand how a company like Dave, and now I'm a Dave Ramsey fan, I'm an ELP, but I'm trying to wrap my head around how do they come up with a threshold based on compensation that shows
how do they quantify it?
And I don't think it's based on that. So if it's not based on that, then I feel like it has to be behavioral. And if it's behavioral, you would think that they would handle those issues individually. If they had agents that are in there recruiting aggressively the other ELP members, you would think that they would address those individually. Shannon, do you happen to ask, like, hey, is this a known issue within the masterminding groups, or have you found out any information about that?
I have not, but
Oops.
was at KW when it started, and I go on a listing appointment and they're like, Keller what? So, I started in the beginning. We had people that were very aggressively recruiting at KW when it first started. And we have that at eXp as well. We certainly have our share of overzealous, excited agents, just as KW did as well, because I heard you say that they're, financially more incentive here. Yes, ours is rev share versus profit share. However, when I was at KW, it was just as aggressive. So people wanted to, get people in their downline, and so to speak. So there's that. It was just as aggressive. And it is true, over the past couple of years, Glenn and the team have come out and they are putting in cultural, I don't want to say restrictions, but they're saying you cannot recruit like this. Like, this is not in our culture. This is not how we are. And it has definitely tamped down. So I do think Dave was late on that. Now, I did not ask them specifically about what you just mentioned, but it was a very interesting conversation. They had very little to share. I did say, how does that affect the consumer? And they couldn't answer that. All I can tell you, though, is from being in my coaching group, my little pod, I didn't see anyone doing recruiting. I found most of us to be very like-minded individuals who come from contribution. I certainly don't recruit the way people, are saying that all eXp agents recruit. And I have lots of people in my downline, but I don't recruit. People come to me because I'm honest, and I don't need to do that. So that's what I found in our little coaching group. Everybody was very collaborative, and I couldn't even tell you what brokerages people were with. So unless there was some back channel stuff going on that I don't know about, and I even created a little Facebook group so we could maybe pass referrals and that sort of thing for our little pod, but it never came up about brokerages. And it all just seems very interesting. There's a lot of theories. Was it Grant Cardone? Was it because Dave just spoke at a REMAX convention and REMAX is suing eXp? Then there was also some talk about, and I believe this to be true, that Dave Ramsey's PR team was trying to get him on the cover of Success Magazine, and that didn't pan out. And then all of a sudden we're kicked out. I mean, there's and that's not,
interesting.
Yeah, from my
breaking
understanding,
news,
their PR team was trying to get him on, and Success said not right now. Now, y'all have to remember, Dave Ramsey's also in some controversy himself. He's being federally sued by the the woman that was pregnant out of wedlock. And then he fired Chris Hogan a couple months ago. But apparently, and of course, this is all allegedly, I don't know all the details. But from what I read, is he didn't fire Chris Hogan immediately. He got him marriage counseling. Well, then fast forward to this woman being fired, and now she's suing for discrimination. So it makes sense to me that his team would have reached out to have some good PR, and Success said not right now. So is this just a case of somebody being upset and taking their ball going home? Was that the straw that broke the camel's back? Was it a bunch of things? All I know for sure is I don't feel it was about recruiting, because I joined in December. They knew I was with eXp. There are eXp agents that have been ELPs for 7 years while being at eXp for just as long. Dave didn't just all of the sudden look under the hood and realize,
Right.
oh, they have recruiting. And the funny thing that's ironic, if you go to Dave's site and stuff, he talks about sharing the profits. It's one of their principles.
Yeah.
And they talk about, he's mentioning aggressive recruiting. Well, if y'all look at his Google AdWords, it's other agents suck, ours don't. Well, that's pretty aggressive right there. So it's just been a really interesting thing, and I'm just happy that Success Experts is coming from it, and I think it's going to be a good thing for us agents that we had some support there, and somebody helping us out right away, being the company to replace, because it's not going to impact my business that much. I'm closing my 5th deal tomorrow with the Dave Ramsey program. 5 is not huge out of the 55, 60 that I sell per year, because I'm mostly relationship and referral. That being said, I was heartbroken because I do speak the language of those people. And the biggest thing for me, and I love Dave Ramsey, the program worked for my family personally, and the agreement does say that anybody can terminate at any time. The problem is, there was no refund of my money when I signed up for a year's worth of potential. And my biggest issue really comes down to a more ethical kind of way of doing it. There was no warning. And so for those agents that this was a sole part of their business, there's an agent that I'm friends with that was making $200,000 to $300,000 off of these leads. It's a big bread and butter for them. And this man just effectively cut them off at the knees. And now this agent's going to have to scramble to replace that very large piece of business. So that is the challenge with it. He had every right to do what he wants to do in his business, just as we all do as independent contractors. It's just the way he went about it.
Yeah,
and I have to say,
getting that email saying, hey, you haven't done anything wrong, but then they cut you out for technically saying you did something wrong. That really sucks. That's like
you're
getting
affiliated
what
with
is
a
it,
company
Ray?
that we believe is doing something wrong. So
right. No. And I feel like they just did that to like get you on the phone, and then they gave you the I don't love you anymore birthday cake.
Yeah. So, and I agree mostly with you, Shannon, in your stance, and I think probably some kind of proration, especially for those agents that just joined and paid the $3,000 this year, and now they can't do it. I mean, I'm thinking about agents that like last month joined. I'm sure there's some that last month were in it and paid the $3,000, and now they're gone. So that's an interesting situation, and hopefully that part gets worked out. I hope that they can figure that part out, especially for agents that really didn't do anything. That's the part to me that kind of
what if I did go to eXp and I'm not a recruiter? I just like eXp, and then when I do have someone come over,
you love the logo. Maybe
I like the logo.
In fairness, I do want to say I believe the agents that were in the red are getting their refund.
Oh, okay, you're breaking up a little bit, Shannon. You're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, the agents that were in the red are getting a refund.
They should be getting a refund. I believe a few of them had. So if they hadn't closed a deal or two that didn't cover the expenses that they had put out, I believe, at least I know of one agent who did get their money back because they had only closed one deal and they were in the red. I was told I'm not getting my money back because I made money and I'm in the green, to which I said, but so did Dave. He collected the 30%. But I just wanted to make sure I went on record of saying some agents are indeed getting their their money back, and I understand it to be if they were in the red.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And by the way, the article does mention that if, any leads that you still have, did Shannon mention it, or maybe it mentions it in the article, but up to 2 years,
still have
any
those
clients you
leads.
still have. So which is so, I don't know, it kind of bums me out too, because they're saying, hey, we're taking this program away from you, but this lead you've been working, now you still have to give us our chunk back. That part's rich. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but by the same token, and Shannon, you kind of mentioned the lawsuits and stuff like that, and that was kind of one of the things that irked us last week when we were talking about Dave. Is some of the YouTubers were going pretty hard after him for things that people have been complaining about Dave for a long time, but yet like last week they were in ELP and didn't mention any of it. So,
right. Well, I didn't like this anyway. So,
yeah, that was a little bit kind of like what you were saying he was doing. Take your ball and going home. Kind of the other side was doing that too. Like, well, you don't want to play with me, I don't want to play with you, and kind of. So I think avoiding that kind of stuff, because basically he has pretty high standards for anyone in his company. If they go against those standards, and he has employee contracts that include some of those standards. And if you go against those standards, then they have the right to terminate you. But we'll see what happens in court with those things. But interesting. I really appreciate you coming on, Shannon, and kind of giving us an opinion from inside and letting us know what happened to you personally. I'm hoping that you get some kind of repayment or compensation or something like that, since you just joined recently. But I know you're a stellar agent, and I also know that you don't put all your eggs in one basket either, which is smart. But
no, I don't. And I appreciate you having me. I will leave you with the last thing that you said, and then I'll pop off. But they do want the 30% for anything that we may procure from those leads. But my question to you to ponder is, well, if he broke the agreement, then does a contract still exist? So that's my question to, people. Well, why do I still owe the 30%? Because if you effectively broke the agreement, then is there still a contract where I still owe you the 30%? So that's what I'm in the process of finding out. But listen, like I said, it was a great program for me, and it's a great program for people if they want to get out of debt. And I don't fault him for doing what he wants to do with his business. It was just the way that it happened. But thanks for letting me chat about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. Love you. We'll see you next time. I appreciate you joining us.